Hi, my name is Ashish, and in this video, we will see how to deploy a containerized application on Azure Kubernetes Service Part 3. I am going to dedicate this month a rest of 30-40 days on the Kubernetes Docker, Azure Kubernetes Service, Azure Container Registry, Azure Container Instances, and then the Kubernetes service on Amazon as well. So that would be Elastic Container Service, Elastic Container Instances, Elastic Kubernetes Service, and AWS Fargate as well. So I'm going to explore, read, and then do the labs and share it with all of you guys. So in continuation with our last two videos that we have made, we'll enable the network access through the application that we have deployed. So let me just quickly log on to the portal and take it from there. So in the previous videos, we have successfully deployed the video rendering service website, though I was not able to browse it because my container after deploying went into loop crash state. But herein you have noticed that we were not able to access the website from any client external to the cluster. So if you would be accessing it from the internet, was not available. The problem is that we have not exposed our application to the internet. So by default, Kubernetes will block all the external traffic. So we will need to add an ingress rule that is also called an ingress controller to allow the traffic into the cluster so that it can accept the incoming requests that are coming via internet. So for that, we have to create the service manifest. Like all the resources, services also have manifest files that would describe how they should behave. Let's create a new service description, and for that, like the previous videos, I will launch the Cloud Shell. Here it is. I'll just scroll it up a little bit. It is requesting a Cloud Shell. All right, looks good now. So I'm gonna create one service file called service.yaml. I don't know why it behaves like this. I'm gonna submit this on Twitter of Microsoft about this problem so that they can confirm it's not only me or anybody else is also facing that issues. So you also try launch the Cloud Shell and type in few commands and mention that in the comment section if you are also facing this issue. Like first, if you launch it, you'll write the command, it will go one word up and one word down, then you have to clear the screen and then type in the command again. Now I'm gonna open up the code editor like this, and let me add some content here to expose my service. Here it is, I've pasted it. So in this code, we added the first two keys to tell Kubernetes the API version and the kind of manifest we are creating. The name is the name of the service, and we'll use it to identify and query the service information when we use kubectl. Now we define how the service will behave in the specific section of the manifest file. The first behavior we need to add is the type of service. So we'll set the type key to the cluster IP. So I'm going to update this service.yaml file, or I can do this. I'll do spec and the type would be cluster IP. So we define the pods the service will group and provide coverage by adding a selector section to the manifest file. So we'll add the selector section under type like this. I'll add this and then we'll set the app key value to the Contoso website so that it will label the pods as specified in the earlier deployments manifest file. So I'll do app, sorry, it would be app Contoso website. Now we define the port forwarding rules by adding a ports section to the manifest file. So under selector, I'll add ports. So I'll do ports. I'll do this. So it would be port 80 and would forward the request to HTTP target port for all the ports matching the selector value defined earlier, like this. The name, the protocol, and the target port, so that it accept the request on port 80 and would then forward the request to the ports under which the container is deployed using the TCP and the HTTP protocol. So then you deploy the service using the kubectl. So if you would just save this file, service.yaml, you save this file, you close the editor, then you do kubectl apply -f, then you have your service.yaml file, right? And then you hit enter. So in my case, it might not work because I have deleted the previous deployment. Yes, see, so it is not there, right? So, oh, I'm sorry, kubectl apply. You do this because I have deleted the repository that I forked, but this is where you mention the create the service.yaml file to expose your Kubernetes to the internet by creating an ingress connection to your AKS cluster. And now when you deploy this onto your service.yaml.file, the command will, when you run the command to get the service for the application that you have deployed, in our case it is Contoso website, make sure the column cluster IP is filled with an IP address, and there would be a column using the external IP is none, and the ports would be defined at AT and TCP. Now you will have to create an ingress manifest. To expose the website to the world via DNS, you must create an ingress controller. Now you exposed your service to the internet. Now to expose your website in the world via DNS so that people can route it to your application, you would have to create an ingress controller. So for that, if I do this CLS, you will create a file called ingress.yaml. Do this, and you go to your ingress.yaml file that you created, and then you would open that ingress.yaml file and would add the code, right? So let me add the code like this. And in this code, we added the first two keys to tell Kubernetes, the API version and the kind of manifest. Now we'll create an annotations key inside the metadata section of the manifest file call to use the HTTP application routing add-on for this ingress, because when we'll expose it via DNS, the request would come on the HTTP routing. If you remember, when we created an AKS cluster, we specifically selected that option to enable the HTTP routing under the networking section while creating an AKS cluster using the GUI portal. So we'll set the key to the kubernetes.io ingress class, and a value would be add on HTTP routing like this. And now we'll set the fully qualified domain, like the FQDN of the host allowed to access the cluster. And when you update the zone file, so let's say you set the fully qualified domain name of the host allowed to access the cluster. So you run the AZ network DNS zone list command, and that will tell you your zone name for the AKS app and the resource group in which you have created your AKS cluster. So then you have to copy the zone name and update the ingress.yaml file to match the the YAML, and you have to replace the zone name placeholder value with the zone name, and that will come in that uh, output. So in my case, the zone name you will here, and you will replace it with the zone name that you have got. And now you will add the backend configuration to your ingress rule. You will create a key named HTTP and allow the HTTP protocol to pass through. Then you will define the path key that will allow you to filter whether this rule applies to all paths of the website or only on some of them. Like this, this is the path, which is the path is this referring to the service port on which is allowed, the service name, and here is your host, the FQDN that you deploy to allow the internet connection. You'll save the manifest file, then you would close the editor, and then you will apply it. You will have to deploy it using the kubectl apply-f command, and then you will, to get the ingress controller, you will type in kubectl space get space ingress and then the name of your application, that is the contoso-website. Then in the result, it will give you the public IP, the ports, and the age from which it is running, and the host on the URL on which it is available. So there could be a small delay between the creation of the ingress and the creation of the zone record. So you'll have to query Azure to find out if your DNS has been created, and then you can access the website already. And then if with the URL, you can access your application that you have deployed as a containerized application onto the Azure Kubernetes service. And if let me make another video to show you or explain you about the networking concept. So let's stop this video right here only. If I hope you enjoyed it. If you would have any queries, please mention them in the comment section, and I'll make a videos explaining the networking concepts in Kubernetes. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.